Good afternoon. This is wildlife biologist Eric Orff from New Hampshire Fish and Wildlife. This afternoon or evening I'm down here in Litchfield, New Hampshire. And behind me, in some distance, is a golf course. Let me tell you how I impacted that golf course. See, in 1966, I worked for Colby Brothers here in town, Sterling Colby and Brothers, and they had a farm, a huge farm. Almost all of 3A was farmland, hundreds and hundreds of acres of corn and squash, and I was hired the summer before at 50 cents an hour at age 14 to work on the farm, and this field to my left was squash that year. And that particular day, and I can tell you it was, I'd already turned 16, so it was in early, my late May is my birthday, but I didn't have my license yet, so I'm guessing it was around early to mid-July of 1966. And as we came out in this field to hoe up the squash, I saw a rare, well, what I consider a rare snake, a unique snake, called the hog-nosed snake in the field. So I gently caught it and lugged it off into the woods because, hey, the workers had hoes in their hand for hoeing up the squash, and some people just don't like snakes. So I protected the snake by lugging it off in the woods. Well, maybe a decade later, there was I think a UNH graduate student that was doing his thesis on hog-nosed snakes in the state. And lo and behold, he kept interviewing me because at that time, there were about maybe 8 sightings of hog-nosed snakes in New Hampshire. 5 of those were mine. Well, fast forward another decade, as I was a wildlife biologist at New Hampshire Fish and Game. I happened to be at headquarters one day, and I noticed on the secretary's desk a paper about a golf course in Litchfield, New Hampshire. So I asked the secretary if I could look at it, and she said sure. So the 15 or 20 page document I picked up and began to scan it, and lo and behold, there was a golf course going into Litchfield, New Hampshire, right near where I belong to the Londonderry Fishing Game Club, just over the border here, maybe a quarter mile away. But the golf course was going to be built, and lo and behold, the golf course proposal was looked over by the Fishing Game Department, and they said, well, listen, we have a sighting by some unknown person in 1966 that they saw a hog-nosed snake nearby. So they actually worked with the Fishing Game staff. They changed the layout of the golf course to make it more hog-nosed snake friendly, protecting certain habitat, bridging some habitats where the snake would have a way to cross the golf course. So there I was, barely turning 16 years old, making a difference. And I'm telling you could make the same difference. In New Hampshire, there are maybe, less than 20 wildlife biologists, I think 10 or a dozen at the headquarters in Concord, and another half dozen or so in the 4 regional offices scattered around the state. So 30, 40 pair of eyes? There's 1.3 million people in New Hampshire. That is a lot more eyes. We could use your eyes to discover our wildlife. We can't protect wildlife if we don't know about it. So luckily, on Fish and Game's website, there is a place where you can put in your observations, especially for frogs and snakes and salamanders, those types of animals, but even some of the mammals that are fairly uncommon. So if you see something that you don't know what it is, you have a way of making a difference. It's right in your pocket. Take a picture of it and send that to Fish and Game and record the location. Not just the town, but the road, or even, say, the address of the closest mailbox. So as good as you can describe that, or a pond. So describe the location and the date, and send that picture into Fish and Game, because you know what? Animals can't be protected if you don't know they're there, and some of the rarest animals probably are still scattered about, and we don't know where they are. So get off the TV, get off your phone, get outside, and get out there and use your eyes to discover all the wonderful animals that there are in New Hampshire. You can make a difference.